Rush Limbaugh wanted to talk about the recent shooting in California, and he's going to do what Rush Limbaugh always does and blame a certain group of people for it. I wonder who.
Elliot Rodger manifesto. He called his mother selfish for not marrying into wealth. He wrote about how seeing how rich families enjoy life made him resent that his, quote, damnable mother had not married into wealth instead of being selfish. Now, again, every time one of these things happens, the first thing the drive-bys do is see if they can link it to the Tea Party. Then they try to link it to conservative talk radio. Then they try to link it to some Republican politician someplace. So we always eschew that. Don't play that game because it's cheap, but it's fun to kind of reverse roles now and then. So if as far as these people are concerned, these perpetrators cannot be responsible. There has to be some external force. A Tea Party, poisoning their minds, conservative talk radio, filling them with hatred, bigotry, and whatever the cliches are. Republican politicians planting in their heads elitism and whatever it is. It can never be that a perp is simply a bad guy and is responsible for what he does. There has to be some external force, the gun, the NRA. Okay, the more we learn about this guy, the more obviously we see he was conditioned by liberalism. He resented the rich to the point of calling his mother damnable and selfish for not marrying a wealthy guy. He hated women. Who is it that's out there talking about the war on women all the time? It's the Democrat Party.
They talk about the war on women because they want to end it, not participate in it like this jackass did who had all the problems with women under the sun. How unbelievably stupid is Rush Limbaugh? Here's a kid who vehemently hated women, and he was mad that none of them would touch his little pecker, and he was filled with hatred, and he wrote on PUA Hate, the Pickup Artist Hate website, that I got so angry when I saw a woman with a bunch of hot girls with a black guy and then a bunch of hot girls with an Indian guy today. That's not fair. They should be with rich white men like me. Does that sound liberal to you? Hating black people is liberal? Hating Indians is liberal? Hating women is liberal? None of that stuff is liberal. That's the opposite of liberal, And to be clear, I'm not blaming an insane person and his crazy rantings and reason for mass murder. I'm not blaming that on a political movement, but Rush Limbaugh just did. He's so incredibly stupid that it actually makes your jaw drop. The first time I heard that, my jaw actually dropped. I was like, because he's saying all the things that he's accusing liberals of saying. He's like, oh man, every time there's one of these mass shootings, these liberals always try to blame it on groups of people instead of saying the individual is responsible, which is why I say blame liberals. Whoa, what? You're guilty of exactly the thing you were just mocking. He's like, oh, how dare these people try to make these gross connections where you blame a group of people for the actions of a single insane person. Blame liberals. What? You are doing the exact thing that you're saying liberals do. And the idea that it's a liberal thing to want your mom to marry rich? I've never heard that before. No liberal I know goes, fuck man, if only my mom married rich. What are you talking about? If anything, the idea of rich worship is a conservative idea. You are the guys that always want to cut their taxes. You are the guys that always say they're the smartest people in the room. You're the guys that always want to bow down to Wall Street and worship them. So what are you talking about? Rush Limbaugh, it all comes back to this main point with Rush Limbaugh, which, by the way, is why his ratings are terrible now. I told you, the second they switched over from the old rating system, which was done by diaries, which was notoriously inaccurate. They never gave you an accurate number because people had to fill it out and send it back in, and they would wait till the end of the month and just fill in whatever had the most name recognition. The second they moved to people meters, which is GPS-based, where they could actually measure within a certain perimeter of the radio station, people realize, oh my God, nobody's listening to right-wing talk radio. There was a big article in Politico recently and another one in Media Matters recently where they gave the ratings for the biggest markets in the country. Rush Limbaugh is getting beat by college radio stations. He's getting destroyed in the ratings. Now, why is that? Why is that? It all comes back to the Howard Stern point. You know, he said this like nonchalant in the middle of a conversation while talking to somebody on his show a while back, and it stuck with me because of how true it was. That he said, look, I wouldn't mind listening to political talk radio. In fact, I think it could be interesting, it could be fun. You could talk about all these different theories and ideas and talk about what's going on in the world. But I can't listen to Rush Limbaugh because every show is the same. Rush Limbaugh's show is mind-numbingly stupid. Whatever happens in the world, blame liberals, blame Democrats, blame progressives. It's always their fault. They're always wrong. And conservatives and Republicans are always right, and they're always just, and they're always moral, and you should always vote for them. No deviation. There's never been a single deviation from that in his entire time on air. You know, and don't give me the bullshit false equivalence that, oh, you know, there's a lot of left-wing equals to that. Not even close. I've seen Bill Maher, who, by the way, is a comedian. Rush Limbaugh isn't. But Bill Maher always goes after Democrats. He always accuses them of being corrupt as well. The Young Turk, same thing. Tom Hartman is an incredibly smart guy. Talks about incredibly high-minded things and science and, you know, philosophy. And same thing here. How often every single show I go after Democrats and tell you that they're corrupt and they do bad things as well. I go after both sides. Rush Limbaugh never does. Same thing every single time. And this is how low he's gotten. This is how terrible his show has become. That a mass shooting by a crazed young kid who, if you read his manifesto or heard his video clips, clearly he's just a psychopath. Clearly there's a disconnection from reality. Clearly he's got deep-rooted problems where incoherent rants about how all women are evil and they should want to love him, but they don't, and he hates black people, and he, you know, he's angry, he doesn't get the love he deserves, and he's all over the map with his insanity. But Rush Limbaugh finds a way to connect that to liberals. The broad category of liberals, which makes up probably over 50% of the country. That's who you're blaming for the actions of an individual when, ironically, he was mocking the idea that you can ever blame a group of people for the actions of one person, and then he does it.